Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is video number 11. Add and subtract rational expressions, part 2. So, what was the first step we learned to do when handling these kind of problems? That's right. We need to make sure our denominators are factored. So we're going to factor this real quick. And hopefully you agree n times n is the n squared. 2 times 6 is a 12. How do I get a minus 4? Negative 6 plus 2. Okay. So here is our new improved problem. All denominators are factored now. So, remember when we subtract, we need to find a common denominator. Now, a common way to do this, guys, it's not always a perfect way, but if I just times all the factors together in my denominator, I basically come up with my common denominator. So in our case, our common denominator is going to be 5 times n plus 2 times n minus 6. Okay, so follow very closely here, guys. Notice this one in red already has n plus 2 and n minus 6. So what does it need to have this complete denominator, common denominator we came up with? All it needs is the 5, correct? So if you follow carefully, if I times by 5 in a numerator and denominator, I basically times by 1, right? 5 over 5 is 1. So now notice if I put a 5 here, I now have a complete denominator. What is 5 times 4? Remember, we're multiplying. Well, that's just simply 20n. Now what? Well, let's look at our second fraction. Over here, notice, we just have a 5. Don't we need the n plus 2 times the n minus 6? We sure do. So does it not make sense? I'm going to do n plus 2 times n minus 6 in the numerator as well. So now let's just multiply all of this together, which actually is kind of a pain in the butt, but here we go. Let's go ahead and do them one at a time. So first of all, hopefully you agree that's negative 3n. I'm going to distribute here. So this is going to get a little messy here, guys. I'm going to have negative 3n squared, right? And that's 3n times n, and then 3n, negative 3n times 2 is a negative 6n. So that's getting a little messy there. I don't need the parentheses. So I have negative 3n squared minus 6n. Now I got to times this with n minus 6. So that's a 6n there. So I'm going to do negative 3n squared times n. And I'm going to get a negative 3n cubed. Negative 3n is also going to times a minus 6. I'm going to get a plus 18n squared. I notice right here, I'm going to do negative 6n times n, negative 6n squared. And then finally, negative 6n times negative 6 plus 36n. Woo! So now, as you can see, I just need to combine like terms in my numerator, and I should be done. So let's see here. I have a negative 3n3 here. I know 18 minus 6 is a 12n squared. I have 36n and a 20n, which makes 56n. And that whole thing's divided by 5n plus 2 n minus 6. And I don't believe I can simplify, and I'm going to hope and pray I didn't make any silly mistakes. The important thing is hopefully you're getting the process down. You got to find a common denominator, guys. You got to be careful, distribute those negatives, etc., etc. Okay, pause the video if you need to. Let's take a look at this one here. Again, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to factor that denominator, right? That denominator is 6 times n minus 3. The second fraction here, of course, is 4 over 1. So with a denominator of 1, well, I don't have to worry about it. So I have my common denominator, 6 times n minus 3. So does everybody agree, hopefully, that that 4 already is over 6 times n minus 3 there? And the 4 over 1, well, what does it need? It needs 6 times n minus 3 in the denominator. So I'm going to times by 6 times n minus 3 in the numerator. So long story short, I know 4 times 6 is 24. I'm going to distribute my 24, so I got 24n. 24 times negative 3 is negative 72. What does that lead us to? Well, the negative 72 and the 4 make negative 68, right? So we have negative 68 plus 24n over 6 times n minus 3. Now, normally we'd be done, but guys, do you agree that both of these terms have a GCF I can factor out? As a matter of fact, looking at it right now, both of them are divisible by at least 2. Would you agree? So let's do that. Let's divide by 2. Okay, so if I divide by 2, or GCF 2, I'm going to have 2 times negative 34 plus 12n. That's now over 6 times n minus 3. And why I did that is, if you look right here, guys, I can reduce 2 over 6 to simply 1/3, can't I? So my final answer is negative 34 plus 12n over 3 times n minus 3. There's no other common factors, so I am done. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, let's do one more. Here we go. What's the first thing I'm going to do? That's right, I'm going to factor that, right? That's x times x. 6 times 1 is 6. Negative 6, negative 1 is negative 7. My combined like term, or common denominator I should say, is 6 times x minus 6, x minus 1. 6 times x minus 6, x minus 1. Okay, so this first fraction, x plus 4 there, has x minus 6, x minus 1. I hope you agree the only thing missing is a times 6. So I'm going to distribute the 6 here. I'm going to get 6x plus 24. My second fraction right here, you notice, has only the 6. It actually needs x minus 6, x minus 1. X minus 6, x minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to do x minus 6, x minus 1 in the numerator. Notice here, again, I have the same denominator. So it's going to get ugly again, guys. Let me go ahead and distribute the 2x. So that's 2x squared minus 12x. Now I got to times that by x minus 1. We times these together. Everybody following the circle there, the black circle. So we already timed those together. Now we have to distribute and times it by x minus 1. So here we go. We got 2x cubed. We got minus 2x squared. Next, we're going to do negative 12x times x. That's a minus 12x squared. And finally, negative 12x times negative 1 is plus 12x. Whew. So finally, simplifying what we got, our common denominator again is 6x minus 6, x minus 1. Our numerator, Well, let's see here. We have a 2x cubed. We have a minus 2 minus 12x squared. So that's minus 14x squared. We also have a 12x and a 6x, which makes 18x plus 18x. Let me clean that up a little bit. Sorry guys, my daughter interrupted me there for a little bit. Lost my train of thought. And then finally, plus 24. Okay. Now normally again we would be done, but do you guys notice that all of the coefficients are even? So we're going to do a little trick I used to do in high school, and hope you can catch on to it. I'm just going to divide each of these by 2. So that divided by 2 is simply x cubed. That divided by 2 is negative 7x squared. That divided by 2 is 9x. That divided by 2 is 12. Now I can't just divide the numerator by 2, right? I'm now going to divide the denominator to 6 by 2 and get a 3. That still leaves us x minus 6, x minus 1 in the denominator. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a simplified version of our answer. Now guys, this video, to be honest, was a little bit tougher than I realized. You're definitely going to want to watch this one and pause this one and rewind this one. Hopefully it was legible enough and I was clear enough. But the bottom line, these problems can be a pain in the butt, and it just takes a lot of determination, practice, and persistence, guys, to master these. Until next time, bye.